G'day ladies and gentlemen, Docville here bringing you some StarCraft 2 action. Of course, this is going to be from Heart of the Swarm. I did promise there were going to be some more replays from this particular upcoming expansion. Of course, we are in the beta right as of now. Lots of people, of course, playing this, and it's been quite a lot of fun. There has been a really big patch that just came out the other day. I did actually have quite a lot of replays that I was going to cast that were predominantly from White-Ra's replay pack that he released just last week, but given the patches hit, I said, you know what, those replays are a little bit old. Fundamentals of the game have changed a bit, the way units work have changed, all these kinds of cool things. So what we're going to do is, this is one that's fresh off the ladder from today from my good buddy, who will be down on the left hand side here, and he is currently playing for Soviet Gaming. It is Gemini. He's going to be facing off against a Blue Zerg up here. Unfortunately, we got a little bit of barcode action going on. Of course, being a global server, for some reason, people still think that they need to hide their ID, you know, just in case their crazy Heart of the Swarm strats have been revealed or something like that. Do not know why that happens, but whatever. So we're going to call him Mr. Blue, just up here. And yeah, we'll have to see what happens. It is Daybreak, of course. The only slight changes to Daybreak, of course, will be the unbuildable plates. I just noticed they actually have a little heart, you know, that I Heart SC2 icon. They've got that. That's really funny. So those little things down on the bottom of the ramp, these are standard as a part of all of the ladder maps in Heart of the Swarm, so you will see those there. So no crazy bunker shenanigans down the bottom of a ramp or 3 pylons down on the bottom of the ramp. Bear in mind, you can still, of course, some people from time to time will do a triple pylon block at the top of the ramp, then you can do cannons down the bottom, but I'm assuming that Gemini is not going to do that. I haven't really known him for doing any kinds of sort of harassment like that, early sorts of cheese. Those things are not common to see from him. But as we can see, that's a relatively quick pull here from our Blue Zerg player. He has actually picked that up. I think that was around about 13 or 14 or so. He's actually going to pick up 6 lings straight away, along with a queen as well. Maybe he was cheesed in the previous game by someone, just making sure that he is safe this game. But that is a very uncommon way to play. Keep in mind, of course, for some of you who don't have Heart of the Swarm, it will be interesting to see how some of these builds go about. This is not one of the normal ones, I can tell you that. So Mr. Blue is currently just going to go for a very extremely safe, you know, better safe than sorry kind of expansion, with his hatchery coming down after 6 lings were already created. So those are on the way across the map, as we can see here. Gemini, meanwhile, back down in his main base, just still pushing up all those probes. He has cut the probes just for a moment so he can make sure he has enough money to put down a gateway if need be. He probably should put that down right about now. There it is. It's just on time to block out the lings. However, 6 lings will be able, they're going to actually bust this down, and that actually leaves a little bit of a hole, and that will let the lings slip by. They should be able to slip past before the cannon is able to pick any of them off. So it does look like the lings will get inside, as we can see. Probes coming across to try and deal some damage to them, trying to herd the lings around to make sure they don't sort of get too much damage done. So we will have a probe versus ling battle here. It looks like the probes will go down. A few of them will go down. Nice little bit of micro there from Gemini to keep some of them alive, as we can see on the worker kill tab. It was 4, so it's not exactly a good day, but it's better than what it could have been. Of course, having 6 lings inside your base is never a good thing to have, but of course gets a little bit of damage done. And as we can see with Mr. Blue expanding behind this, his you know, he's going to try and catch up as quickly as possible in the worker count. Of course, as we can see, currently sitting on 22 workers at the moment. He's also going to head down towards the 3rd base and plop down another hatchery here. However, Gemini, being ahead of the game, is already down there, was blocking it for just a second, but the probe will just head back up to try and get some more intelligence on what's going on for Mr. Blue. So the hatchery will go down. Now, some common things to see in Heart of the Swarm, of course, for the Zerg players, they love to use a bit of Swarm host action. All you need to do, put them down in sort of this kind of position here, start sending them in. You may even want to start moving them up, and you can actually just start sieging your Protoss opponent. Of course, the wall exposing very critical elements. Of course, the Cybernetics core, even the Forge, very important parts of a Protoss right at the start of the game. Of course, the Cyber lets you get those very high-tech units out of the game, and the Forge has your upgrades. So that can be something which can come out from time to time. However, most people won't necessarily rush towards Swarm hosts or anything like that. take your standard sort of 3 bases, wait until you've got around about that sort of high 30s mark in the drones or in the supply to take your gas. But as we can see here, it looks like Mr. Blue has already taken 2 of his gas inside the main, got 4 on one of these, as you can see here, that handy dandy little the work account thing on the Vespene guys are helping out just a little bit. He can also see that, bear in mind, so I'm a little bit surprised that he hasn't actually fixed that up. But down at the natural, as we can see, the work account has started to pick up quite a bit for Mr. Blue. Is up to 35 now, just putting down a couple of extra extractors. This can lead to a couple of options. Of course, the swarm hosts do cost 100 gas, so they're a lot like their muter cousins in the fact that they do cost quite a bit, and you will need to bank up if you want to try and slap a few of those guys out. Meanwhile, for Gemini, of course, Protoss players, after the recent patch, loving to get out Oracles, so I would not be surprised if we see him go for a little bit of a Stargate play. It should, I'm kind of surprised it hasn't gone down by now. I mean, we're up to 2 bases for him. His work account is currently sitting at 439, but he is going to take a very quick 3rd expansion. Now, Wings of Liberty players who have not seen too much of Heart of the Swarm will be saying, well, this guy's dead. I mean, he's just expanded at the 8-minute mark. What's going on here? But the fact of the matter is, the Mothership Core provides you with a very, very intense kind of defense. Of course, the Photon Overcharge that's here can be placed on the Nexus at your 3rd base, or perhaps at the Natural if need be, and you can have a Nexus that is shooting out 20 damage per shot, just like a little, just like its own little Photon cannon here, just doing the same sort of damage, and that is a great way to defend those very, very quick bases. So that's why I think we've got Gemini picking up that 3rd. He's just going to say, you know what, you've gone for a quick 3rd after doing some attempted economic damage, and it didn't really get too much going, so what I'm going to do is expand very quickly. And the other added bonus of playing as Protoss in Heart of the Swarm is that you can send across one of these Hallucinated Phoenix. It doesn't actually cost anything to research Hallucinated Phoenix. In fact, it comes as standard. It's like the cup holders and air conditioning. It just comes as standard in the Sentry. So he's able to get a little bit of intel. Obviously can see that the layer is done. Of course, the double Evo chambers are pumping away at some of those research items in there. The Roach Warrant also picking up Roach speed. So at the moment, things for our Blue Zerg player actually looking very standard and looking like he is going to head up towards something of perhaps it's kind of hard to tell because he did grab the 5th and the 6th gas down here at the 3rd base, so he may be heading towards some kind of Roach Ling style or just maybe heading towards just a very high econ style, just making sure that he's very well protected, of course, with the melee upgrades, the missile upgrades, and the carapace upgrades on the way. So he's really just starting to get everything focused. Here's another one of those free Hallucinated Phoenix that comes about. Of course, if you want to get technical, it does cost you a little bit of energy. You do need to take into consideration the fact that it may cost you a couple of Sentry force fields, which may save the day. But I mean, you know, when it comes down to it, at this stage of the game, you should have quite a few of those boys out, and the Sentries are always good at helping to get rid of the early sorts of pressure. As we can see from Gemini, he's got 8 of them out at the moment, and back inside his main, he does have a double Stargate on the way. And whoa, someone just messaged me, holy moly, I am popular. But there are 2 Oracles just on the way there, and they're just about to pop out. So the thing, in fact, the 3rd Stargate, wow, this is going crazy. I've not actually seen anyone go for triple Stargates, so we'll have to find out what's going to happen with this. The Oracles, bear in mind, do cost 150, 150, so they're not exactly cheap, but they're not, they won't break your, they won't break the bank. So they're nice to get out there en masse. Like, a lot of players will try and grab anywhere up to about 4 or 5 of them. And now the thing about the Oracle in the latest patch is that the weapon for it doesn't actually have a normal standard shooting weapon. What you have to do is you have to turn on this little pulsar beam, and what that does is allows it to attack enemy units, does 15 damage as standard, but when you are facing off against the light units, such as you know, Mutalisks, or such as drones, Lings, wings, those kinds of things, it actually does 25 damage, which is quite a lot when you consider the weapon speed is 0.86. So they absolutely decimate mineral lines, and I think that's what we may see coming along here for Mr. Blue. He is going to have to get prepared. Quite a lot of Zerg players, as we can see here, just will blindly get spore crawlers, given that they do not take Evo chambers to build anymore. So we'll have to see what he's going to do, and if he's going to be prepared enough against this, because interestingly enough, one for air attack is just about to complete for Gemini as well. So here they go, activating the pulsar beam, a little bit of micro to keep the oracles out of danger from that spore crawler. A fifth one comes along. The queen is now under threat as well. It looks like Mr. Blue is going to suffer quite a few losses here. In fact, not too many of the workers being targeted down here by Gemini, but he does have his own little problem coming about. The infestors coming along, very quick infestors here. Roaches also coming about as well, but there are quite a lot of sentries to defend that, as we mentioned before. The oracles getting forced out of that because there were a couple more spore crawlers coming along. But the infested Terrans, here they are. Of course, they were... the eggs for the infested Terrans were nerfed along with the same thing as Wings of Liberty, so a bit of a parity sort of update there, whereby it is the same as Wings of Liberty, but as we can see, the infested Terrans still do quite a lot of damage, and they are coming along here to take down some of these sentries. The Stalkers, the Void Ray is up in the air, may be able to help out, but look at what is coming here. We've still got quite a lot of roaches. We've got +2 to weapons on the way. Burrow is also being researched, so Gemini is going to have a little bit of problem here at his third base. I think he does have 3 Tempest on the way. This is the advantage of having that early third base as a Protoss, so you can really start to get those very high cost, high tech units out, such as the Tempest, and of course things like the Void Ray. The Fleet Bacon has already started research of the Anian Pulse Crystals. I'm not sure what that's going to be for. I mean, unless you're facing off against Mutas, I'm not really sure that's actually worth upgrading at all. But for the moment, it looks as if it is going to be just a long conga line of roaches approaching the Gemini third base here. Of course, he did try and get some of the wall back up and some more cannons as well. Only one Void Ray here. Of course, what you can do with the Void Ray is press that magic little E button. It does an extra 6 damage to armored units for 20 seconds, so they do quite a lot. Here are the Phoenix lifting up some of the roaches, not able to cut down the roach numbers in time. The Tempest from afar shooting down those little electric balls that come along, and as we can see, the adjustment to the Tempest, of course, if you're paying attention to the patch notes, now does not do bonus damage to all massive, it only does bonus to air massive. As we can see there, 65 damage on the kinetic overload to massive units, and only 33 damage with the resonance coil against ground units. So back at home for Mr. Blue, while he did get a good amount of pressure done, the Phoenix now inside his base, actually doing a little bit of damage here. Just looking at the worker count, as we can see, there are 104 probes. I'm not exactly sure what the plan is there. I accidentally pressed P for pause. I should probably change that hotkey. That's the thing with Heart of the Swarm, you have to fix up your hotkeys as well, it's kind of annoying. But 104 probes, I'm not really sure what's going on here for Gemini. He's just gone a little bit crazy with the probe count, but of course this will allow him to get that 4th base saturated as he pleases. Meanwhile, he is actually going to go for an air style, as we can see, of course, with the upgrade to the Anian Pulse Crystals, more Void Rays on the way. I believe the +1 air was armor was also done. Yes, it was. So, as we can see, quite the fleet of air units on the way. We've got, of course, the Tempest to deal damage to Broodlords, and then you've got Void Rays who can do that extra damage towards the towards any sort of armored unit. So they do +6. It does increase their DPS compared to old Chandeliers, where I think it's an increase of about 6 DPS when you actually sort of put it up against the old Void Rays. But as you can see, Gemini actually throwing away some of these probes. I'm very happy about this. It was a little bit high, 103, taking it down to around about 95, I would guess, 94, there you go. So, he did get to also see that there was an interesting 4th base here from Mr. Blue. Despite seeing, I'm pretty sure he's actually seen that Gemini has gone for this air contingent. If he hasn't, he should know now. Look at that. Beams on the wall coming along here from Gemini. So I'm not sure what this Spine Crawler wall is for. Last time I checked, I'm pretty sure the patch notes didn't add any sort of anti-air attack for Spine Crawlers, so that's a little bit of a weird sort of thing coming along here from our Blue Zerg player. The good thing from him is that he is taking this 5th base down towards the bottom side. Of course, if you are against the Protoss with heavy air style coming along, I would still suggest that taking a lot of bases is a good way to try and take advantage of their small amount of immobility and their turtle nature. feature right at the start of the game. But of course, the thing is, the Tempest can of course come along and put down some damage on your buildings, and now as we can see, fungal growth, there is that little projectile. We saw it just a tiny bit there, just shooting along. It does have a speed of 10, so it does just zip along, and you can sometimes dodge it if you've got the reactions of a Jedi. But as we saw there, Gemini not able to get out, but the Tempest, they're still alive. They've still got quite a lot of their shields, so they're all happy and dandy. A lot of zealots on the ground, of course, these guys here, just to make sure that that Mr. Blue doesn't look too terrible in the fact that he got quite a lot of spine crawlers. Now with the 4th base up, Gemini looking very, very nice right now. Of course, the 3 Stargates should be pumping out quite a lot of units at this present time. We do see 1 carrier is out. There was also the change to leashing with carriers, as you may have seen in the video that was sent out by Liquid Noni. He did produce a video that showed the difference in how carriers worked in Wings of Liberty compared to Brood War back in the day, where you would have something called leashing, where your interceptors would stay outside the range of the carriers and that kind of thing. But that has now been fixed up a little bit, so the carriers are actually a little bit more useful, though I'm still not totally convinced that it's actually worth it in the end, given that the reason the leashing was so good in Brood War was because of the fact that you could stay out of range of Goliaths. But I don't know, time will tell. There is that beautiful little ping on the map from the game showing us that a Nidus Worm is on the way. This one is full of roaches and infestors, I believe. Look at that, 4 pages, even 5 pages of units here. Zealots will clean up this 5th base, so there's no way that is going to survive, but there is the Nidus Worm. Going to come in and find out that there are 6 Stargates here. Where are the reactions from Gemini? Here he comes with the carriers, the Void Rays, and the Tempest. The Tempest actually should be able to clean up this Nidus Worm pretty quickly, of course. There it goes, and then the Overseer also going down as well. As we can see, big battle going on. It looks like 2 of the Stargates will go down. There we go. Just 2 of them. I don't think this 3rd one will get cleaned up. But obviously revealing the conclusive evidence that Gemini is going for an air tech here. If Mr. Blue did not know already, then he definitely does now. We've also got +3 to air weapons and air armor on the way for Gemini. And, standard sort of reaction. I'm not really sure if Mr. Blue is paying attention here. He's got the Ultralisk Cavern and has 4 Ultralisks on the way. Like, he does have 10 Corruptors, but, 4 Ultras to combat an all-air fleet. That's, an interesting way to play it. So, we'll have to see how well that goes for Mr. Blue. Of course, just looking at the unit counter, we've got 2 Oracles still out. Of course, they help out with things like Time Warp, and also they can do a little bit of harassment from time to time. There are 4 Phoenix, 4 Carriers, 7 Void Rays, and 3 Tempests. So this is going to look very, very menacing here for Gemini once he starts to push along, because I mean, I tell you what, despite the fact that there are all of these infestors, 10 infestors, there are also those 4 Ultralisks and around about, how many is that, 11, 12 Corruptors right now. I'm not actually sure that this is going to go too well here from Mr. Blue, but of course, as we can see, a couple more Oracles joining up with the rest of the fleet. They're preparing, like the Rebel Alliance, preparing to head towards the Death Star. But here we go, 6 more Oracles, are you serious? Alright, well, fair enough. I guess if you want to go in that direction, we'll have to see how that goes for Gemini. But, of course, the Oracles against this kind of army are actually not going to be too useful. I mean, the fact that you can throw down a Time Warp to slow all these units down is fantastic, but you've got an air force. I'm not sure what the whole point of that is, but either way, it looks like there is going to be an attack from both of these players. We've got Gemini heading down the southern side of the map. He's got all these Void Rays, all these carriers, but they're actually just a little bit out of position. Now for Mr. Bluey is attacking into the 5th base of Gemini. The Oracles, meanwhile, trying to get in here and do some damage towards the main base. Look at that, ripping up the hive. That is going to go down quick, smart, and I don't think there is anything that Mr. Blue can do about it, but he is going to attack into this 5th base here, as we mentioned. Gemini is finally bringing the rest of the fleet to the forefront. He has not activated the extra prismatic alignment there on those Void Rays, and they do suffer the fate of a couple of fungals in the face. There is not a good sort of feeling when you've got that kind of thing happening, but the carriers doing all sorts of damage, cleaning up the rest of the army. A couple of Tempest shots from afar also doing all sorts of crazy damage. But I mean, did the Hive go... No, it didn't. Okay, interesting. The Hive did not go down, despite the fact that there are 7 Oracles all powered up, doing all sorts of damage there. So Mr. Blue still, you know, has a chance to come back and hold this one. But I mean, when you're facing off against a Protoss arsenal of 313 upgraded Void Rays, Carriers, and Tempest, you've got a very, very dangerous uphill task set ahead for you, especially when your Ultras can't jump. So here comes, I think, what will be the last battle here between these two players in this Heart of the Swarm matchup. Looks like my PC is starting to lose some frames as well, and I am in ultra graphics right now, so this is kind of a little bit of a scary thing to see. But green beams, blue beams, whatever you want, we've got them all. This is all the sorts of things you will see in Heart of the Swarm, and this was a pretty cool game here from Gemini, going for the air style, of course, copying something that White Ra has been doing a little bit of if you've been watching his stream, and the Carriers cleaning up that 4th base. There is going to be a little bit of a counter-attack here from Mr. Blue. Make sure that 5th base stays down. A few more of these units now just coming through the bottom edge of the map, but they're not going to get too far. A lot of cannons here protecting this 4th base. That's going to hold that together. The Ultra goes down, and Mr. Blue also goes down. So, really interesting game, of course, just showing some of the options there. I mean, taking that very, very quick 3rd base for a Protoss is something that, you know, a lot of players will have to get used to seeing. Of course, I'll have to get used to seeing that. So that is very interesting, cool stuff to see. Of course, also really good to see these air units come about for a Protoss. So Mr. Blue, perhaps a little bit, you know, a little bit more consideration into some of those counters to what's going on. But either way, Heart of the Swarm looking very good. Of course, you can catch me streaming Heart of the Swarm on twitch.tv/DuckvilleLol. I'll be streaming that as much as I can. I'm going to be playing Terran Mech and Protoss, but probably leaning towards Terran Mech a little bit more, because it seems like quite a bit of fun. And I hope you can join me there. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks. Bye.